Mr. Antonio Guterres, Kenya has become a global hub for abductions, human trafficking, an international drug superhighway, an international drug destination. Foreigners and asylum seekers in Kenya have no peace. At least 50 foreign nationals have been abducted, tortured, or killed on Kenyan soil over the last 4 years. These incidents generally fall into two categories: transnational repression targeting asylum seekers and political critics, and terrorist-related kidnappings in specific high-risk regions. On the transnational repression and asylum seekers, the government of President William Ruto has colluded with foreign governments to seize political dissidents and asylum seekers. For instance, in October 2024, 7 Turkish asylum seekers were abducted in Nairobi in a mafia style and brutally tortured. 4 were forcibly returned to Turkey, despite international criticism regarding the principle of non-refoulement. In October 2024, Ugandan opposition leader Dr. Kiza Besigye was abducted in Nairobi and deported to Uganda to face political charges in the Ugandan martial courts. In January 2025, a Tanzanian journalist, Maria Sarungi, was abducted in Nairobi and was headed to Tanzania for charges and jail under Samia Suluhu, but Kenyans stopped it. Nationals from Southern Sudan, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Rwanda have been targeted for their political activism or criticism of their home governments. They are not safe in Kenya. On William Ruto's dalliance with M23 rebels, the DRC president was visibly uncomfortable visiting Kenya for the summit, and thereafter instead opted to go to Uganda for President Museveni's inauguration. This is a man who in June 2024 butchered Gen Zs in their numbers, abducted others. This is the man who is the real commander of RSF and the primary responsibility bearer of the war in Darfur, where thousands of women and children are being butchered. Instead of boasting of hosting over 30 presidents in Nairobi, William Ruto must focus on solving domestic issues. 3 days ago, six Kenyans in Mandera were brutally butchered by Jubilant forces who continue to illegally occupy the Kenyan soil. 7 other Kenyans are fighting for their lives in hospital, and not a single word from William Ruto. As we speak, Mandera County remains insecure and a big threat to the peace in the Horn of Africa. This is highly occasioned by issuance of Kenyan national IDs to non-Kenyan Somalis to enable them get an easy access to passports across the world. This has opened the world to terror groups in terrorist shells in Somalia. The world must be aware of this. And I must say that this dangerous trend disadvantages genuine Kenyan Somalis, as they are held in suspicion and have serious challenges while applying for visas to travel to various destinations across the world. We thank the United Nations Secretary General for coming to Nairobi so that we address him from here on the danger that the Horn of Africa faces, courtesy of his host, Mr. William Ruto, the man in charge of Kenya. President Macron, thank you for coming. We shall tell you why Kenyans made noise to you yesterday and why they will make some more noise when you meet them in the streets in your morning jogs. Unknown to Antonio Guterres and Emmanuel Macron, we want to let them know whom they are dining with. Mr. William Ruto, a man who is the greatest disrespecter of the rule of law, the greatest human rights violator, a vicious man, a callous character, a con master and a practicing dictator on internship from African dictators like Samia Suluhu, Yoweri Museveni, and his contemporaries from other African countries, especially the ones dining at State House now for a talk show. On the issue of peace in the Horn of Africa, Mr. Guterres, now that we are here in Kenya, we have severally warned about the war in Darfur, Sudan, Southern Sudan, DRC conflict, and Somalia. We have also spoken about Ruto's involvement through his gold and arms supply in the said regions and direct assistance to rebels, especially Mr. Hemeti. Mr. Guterres, yesterday, you described the Sudan crisis as a nightmare and a carnage spilling out of control. You called for immediate ceasefire. You also condemned external interference. You also said this is a grave humanitarian violation of human rights causing regional instability. You called for accountability. Unfortunately, you are seated with the very men in charge and responsible for what you are condemning, William Ruto. Mr. Guterres, you were seated with the war commander, and he hosted you to a state banquet yesterday night. You cannot talk about normalizing situation in Sudan when you are hosted by the commander and the men responsible for insecurity in the region. Recent exposes by media and other institutions have vindicated me. The following is the list of criminals from Somalia, Zimbabwe, Southern Sudan, and Sudan who have been issued with Kenyan diplomatic passports, and they are housed here in Nairobi by William Ruto, and they continue to cause havoc in their countries. Children and women in Sudan and DRC are crying because of his actions on RSF and his connections with M23.